Today, our latest acquisition, which is a shift for TG Metals from being concentrating on lithium to now acquiring an advanced gold project, which we hope to advance to production very soon. So just go through presentation. Your disclaimer. So Forrestania region, where we're acquiring this project, an 80% interest in the tenements, was historically mined. Most of that was going in the region where we are is going to the former Bounty gold mine for processing, and that was sourcing ore from all around in the Forrestania region. And some of that was from Van Uden as well. So we're picking up 4 mining leases and 3 exploration licenses, as well as 2 miscellaneous licenses as well. And so what that does is that gives us a pathway to early production by providing mining leases, which are already granted and they're under the old Mining Act. And a granted miscellaneous licenses with a haul road on it, through to a sealed road, which then can go north to either one of 2 gold processing plants. Also, with a historical resource on it of 238,000 ounces at 1.38 back in 98 to 2000 when this was last mined. And the gold price was $400 an ounce thereabouts. 1.38 would have been considered to be low grade. These days, it's high grade. All of the resources that are known are to open pitable depth as well. So far less than 150 metres. 150 metres is the deepest that the Van Uden has been drilled to. As I said, there was previous operating mines on there. So only 2 small pits that were started back in 1998 to 2000, and they were cut short because of the falling gold price and the fact that the owner of the then Bounty gold processing plant went to administration because of the low gold price. Different situation today with the gold price being nearly $3,000 US an ounce at the moment. It's a long way away from being $400 an ounce. So there's a lot of mineralisation here that's economic today. As I said, we've got existing infrastructure quite close to us, and there's also a power line that's running to the north of just on the northern end of the tenements as well. It runs along the existing haul road, and there's obviously skilled workforce around the Southern Cross region. Through to Forrestania, which is where the Edna May gold mill is, and also we're not that far from the Mount Holland lithium mine as well. We see this as being a near-term cash flow potential. There's existing stockpiles that never got treated from the previous mining. The cut-off grade for those was 1.5 grams a tonne. That was what, 1.5 grams a tonne plus was what they were feeding to the mill. And 0.6 to 1.5 was they put into stockpiles. The records on that aren't particularly flash, so we're going to go back and have another evaluation of those stockpiles and see exactly what the grade is. So news flow going forward, economic assessment of the stockpiles to come up, look at what the grade is and the exact amount of tonnes that we've got, and then moving on from that, delineation of the upgrade of the JORC 2012 compliant resource from historical drilling that's been done. So just zooming in on where the Van Uden project, as I said, these days it's a high grade asset, and you can see there's in the picture there of the Tasman open pit. The high grade ore from that highest grade ore plus 1.5 grams per tonne was sent to the Bounty plant for processing, but there are stockpiles around, as I said before, and that's what we're going to assess for early stage production. We've also got walk-up ready drill targets there as well. So, as I said, there wasn't a lot of drilling below 150 metres. And there's a fair bit that we can infill in between the existing pits as well. So for 2.5 kilometres of strike length, in fact. So we've got drill targets to drill on deeper, as well as infilling between the existing pits. And it's quite close to our also to our Lake Johnston Lithium project as well. So there's synergies there in using our existing workforce between the two projects. Obviously, we'll be concentrating more on Van Uden in the short term. Just going to the transaction. So it was this was a long dated transaction. So we've been looking at this since basically October last year, and in that's when we set the price that we were going to pay. Key to that is that that's what we're paying today. So I think you'd probably be paying somewhere in the region of double or maybe even triple that price if you were going to go and acquire this project right now, because of the gold market has shifted that much in the past 6 months. We're still going to end up with a fair bit of money in the bank as well to move forward with our what we want to do going forward in proving up the stockpiles and doing our first 2012 compliant resource. So we don't need to go out and raise money anytime soon. And there's a few other opportunities that we're going to be looking at in terms of financing the haulage of those stockpiles as well. So just looking at where we are in terms of our existing project at Lake Johnston, you can see they're quite close together. There's roads and access to both of them, but the infrastructure that's around Van Uden in terms of sealed roads is far better than what it is at Lake Johnston. And they're all public access roads, so it's not like we have to go and enter into agreements to use those roads to actually get our ore to a processing facility. It is a very advanced project, and we're extremely happy to get a hold of it. Our first criteria that we had for getting a new project was that it wasn't going to be greenfields. It's going to be something that's advanced, that needed to have existing drilling. This is much better than this. It's got granted mining leases. It's got a historic resource on it that doesn't need a lot of work to get it up to 2012 status. And there's a lot of upside too. So we've also got there's Gold City to the south of Van Uden, the main Van Uden resource, which has also got gold hits on it and holds potential for a satellite deposit as well. In the meantime, we've been pretty active too in going around and pegging some leases ourselves as well, just to fill in some gaps and make sure that we can retain our access to tenure. And it's a large-scale gold system, so it's been tested over 2.5 kilometres by drilling. There's over 6,000 holes in the database, so there's a lot of drilling. And a lot of it has been left out of the previous resource as well. So there's plenty of upside. Just moving in on the Van Uden project, an historic resource that was done in 2004. Just over 5 million tonnes, 1.38. And you can see there the drilling is quite shallow. Those deeper holes there also intercepted gold, but the model was never projected that far down because at that stage they didn't have the infill drilling. And this picture here is from 2013. From 2019 onwards, there was more drilling that was done around the Tasman open pit, and that's shown in the sections. So I'll go to the section next. You can see there the long blue holes there. That's the ones that were done post 2019, and so they basically were infilling between the previous historic drilling further up dip down to the deepest drilling that was done. And so now that resource can be extended all the way through, which could potentially be up to about another 30% more tonnes added to the previous resource. The grades are still good as well. You can see a lot of that intercepts there is plus 1%, 1 gram per tonne, and they're quite thick. So it does continue at depth below the base of oxidation. It's not something that's pinching out. You can also see the previous pit mining there. So that was mostly less than 30 meters depth. There's still ore at the bottom of the pits. So when they pulled out of there, like I said, it was due to administration of the processing company. So they just stopped mining, and there's ore in the base of the pit, and also it's quite easy to get a cut back in to the east there to take out more of the ore when we get around to it, which will hopefully be sooner rather than later. And a lot of the laterite surface material that you can see there, which is again has grades, well, a lot of it in excess of 0.5, and there's some stuff there in around 2 grams a tonne in the laterite. That wasn't included in the initial resources either. So that was done with RAB drilling, and so you can't do a resource on RAB drilling. We're going to go back over that with air core and confirm those grades and add those resources, those laterite resources, to the model. So going to the further north on the Demons open pit, you can see the extent of the laterite there. It's very extensive and untouched in terms of mining. So once that can get all that into the resource model as well, and it's easy 1 tonnes as well for initial mining. Very extremely low stripping ratio on surface laterite deposits. So in conjunction with the surface stockpiles that we have, the remnant stockpiles, we should be able to get into production pretty quickly. And of course, again, the Demons pit is even shallower than the Tasman pit. A lot of less than 20 meters depth. Plenty of opportunity for more tonnes at depth. And then just going on to Gold City prospect. So this will be the satellite project. There's a lot of historical workings there. A lot of them were done in the 1950s, so there's no historical production records. And there's also evidence some scrapings there as well on surface. So we plan to just keep adding to the database that we've got down there at the moment, and then improving that up as a potential satellite project. It's on an exploration license, so if in terms of very short-term production opportunity, it's probably not it's a longer-term play for us, but it's also, we have a long strike length there on the exploration license, which is largely untested at depth. So there's a lot of opportunity down there for extra ounces as well. So in terms of the value proposition for TG Metals and how it fits in with our lithium, going into gold diversifies our risk. As everyone on this call will be well aware, the lithium market is not in the best shape at the moment. Gold is actually at all-time highs. Now is the time to get into gold and into something that's that you can push into some near-term production. Being quite close to our Lake Johnston Lithium project is strategic for us. We're not going and having to establish another crew to go and work on this project, and we can use our existing personnel and our existing equipment, so existing vehicles and everything else that we have going forward. We can use on our Van Uden project. It's got fast track potential. I would have thought that's pretty obvious, being granted mining leases established haul roads, miscellaneous licenses on those haul roads, and nearby gold plants to provide us with near-term production potential. On the exploration upside, as I said before, there's not a lot has been done on this Van Uden project since the late 1990s and early 2000s. So there's plenty of exploration upside with the gold price where it is now. And with regional synergies, we're only located 100 kilometres from Lake Johnston. We can as I said before, leverage off our personnel and the infrastructure in the area. With gold at record highs, I think this provides us with some immediate value uplift for our shareholders. So our priorities going forward this year, define a 2012 JORC compliant resource. And then we've got a large database that we've got to go through. A lot of it has been previously validated, but there's still a bit of work to do on things like RLs and so forth. We're planning to do a LiDAR survey across the whole tenement package very soon, as soon as we can get that organised. That'll give us a service DTM that we can work off to make sure that all of our holes are in the right spot. Do an updated resource estimation. We've already made a start on that by doing a reinterpretation of a lot of the data and incorporating the holes from the more recent holes from 2019 to 2024. So that's progressing nicely, and we're in a position where we can almost hand that off to a consultant now. There's some bulk density test work that needs to be done. There was a shortfall in the previous 2004 resource. So a lot of that we can do from within the pits. So non-ground disturbing. So we can basically get in there and get some bulk density test work done on the ore and on some of the waste there as well, just to support the formation of the 2012 MRE. And we've already started engaging consultants on that front. And then further to that, exploration plans, we're going to sample and assess our historic surface dumps. And that's something we can get done fairly soon as well. We've also already been working on our priority drill targets, focusing on high-grade extensions within the Van Uden group and also in Gold City as well. And then start planning for our first drilling campaign for RC and diamond drilling, confirming continuity and depth extensions of the whole Van Uden group extent. And then moving on from that, that all leads into our aspirations for near-term production, which will start off with our stockpile evaluation, assess the scale, grade and recoverability of the remnant material that's in those stockpiles, get our permitting approvals in place. There shouldn't be much of a hurdle for certainly for the stockpiles, and with a production pathway, obviously to engage with the potential toll treatment partners, and also to get some contracting partners involved as well for haulage of those dumps to the mills. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Can you just go back a slide, just on that next step slide? Just with the JORC compliant resource work program, do you have like a bit of an estimate as to how long that will take to bring that to JORC 2012 compliance?
And so, like I said, we do have some bulk density test work that we need to get done. That's going to take probably a couple of months to get that work done. So we've got to get some core from in pit and also some surface from in pit sampling. So it's going to take a bit of time to get done, and then it's got to go through the lab, and labs at this stage saying it's like a 4 to 6 week process to get the bulk density test work done. Once we get that done, then we'll be in a position then to basically reassess the. As I said, we've already got a head start with the reinterpretation, so that's pretty much done. Only the wireframing of the resource of the mineralisation needs to be done, and the consultants will do that. And then once they've got all that data, they can commence the MRE. So that should probably only take them a maximum probably only another month. So I'd say we're probably about three months away from a updated resource.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just with funding and future growth plans, I'm assuming once we get into production and we start processing some of the easy stuff, we'll use that cash to grow the business and the capital, because there's also a question here, just in terms of capital demands across our newly acquired gold and existing lithium exploration projects. Is TG6 still open to low cost land additions within the Lake Johnston Greenstone belt?
I'd say within Lake Johnston acquisitions, probably not. We have actually been offered some tenements there, which we've knocked back because basically in Lake Johnston we do have the best ground there already. So there's no real need for us to go and add to that at all. We've got enough there, and we believe that going forward we've got at least 20 million tons of potential resource there for lithium. There's no real need to go and grab some more. Different story in the Forrestania region. Now that we've got a presence there, I think we would look at acquiring more. In fact, as I said, we've already applied for a couple of exploration licenses already. So getting on the front foot there, and we would look at some potential acquisitions there as well, as long as they weren't too cash draining on us at the moment. Because as I said, we would like to put all of our existing cash at the moment into developing to first production.
Okay, and just with the newly acquired ground, can you confirm if there's any native title claims on it?
So there are I mean, there's native title claims in the area, mainly around two of the Baladong. They are the native title determinant group in the area, but these mining leases come under the old Act, so they're not subject to a native title agreement in order to get started with mining on them.
Okay, I think hang on, there's another one's just come through. What is the benefit of having Barto has the minority JV partner on the ground? Can you sort of give us a bit of an
So
outline?
Barto owns the Marble Lock processing
And
plant.
they've got 20%, right?
That's correct, yes. So that they own the Marble Lock processing plant, which is underutilized at the moment. And so we are hoping that they will be very receptive of any opportunity to get some toll milling into their plant. We haven't had those discussions yet, but we're going to do that very soon.
Okay, great. And just someone that's just jumped on, can you just go over the stockpile and the ability to monetize this in the short term?
Yeah, sure. So there's two different stockpiles. So the Demons stockpiles are historic leach pad stockpiles. So none of the ore from Demons went to a processing plant. It all went into these leach pads, and the leach pads were terminated in 2000. Again, we believe it's because of the falling gold price at the time. So those ones there are actually the easiest to get to and easiest to pull out. They're largely unrehabilitated. there's not much growing on them at all, and so they'll be easy to get to, easy to sample, and then we can pull those out and then and hopefully truck them off very soon to a processing plant. The Tasman stockpiles, we believe they're low grade stockpiles. Again, not treated previously. So the low cutoff grade for that was 0.6 grams per ton, and the up to 1.5 grams per ton. So there's ultimately potentially plus 1 gram per ton in those stockpiles. That's toll treatable all day, every day, to any plant within probably a 180-kilometre radius. So we need to go in there and drill those to confirm the grades, and for that we need to put in a program of works for those Tasman stockpiles to start with. So that's probably another 6-week process to get those POWs in place.
Yeah, and this was a question I was going to ask as well. Another one's just come through. An extension to that question: can you provide a timeline on potential tolling grade, number of ounces, etc.?
We can't really give that, but that's an unknown. That's why we're doing the work to basically find out in terms of number of ounces that we potentially would have there. So we need to do the work first before we can give those numbers in any sort of with any sort of confidence. All we know at this stage is that there's somewhere between 55 and 100,000 tonnes of stockpile material. That's a pretty wide range, and based on previous mining, we're targeting above 1 gram a tonne, but we won't know those exact figures until we do the work.
Yep. Okay. And another one, environmental question. Are there any potential environmental liability in this gold play, in terms of like any environmental bond required to restart the stockpile productions?
No, there's no bonds on the project. We will have to contribute to the MRF that is administered by DMERS when we do start mining, but mining the pits. But initially with stockpile removal, we're basically taking away stockpiles which are on the surface, and then we'll be rehabilitating underneath those. So it's not going to be something that will need to be bonded.
Okay, that's great. There's no other questions, but there was only one thing that I was going to comment on. This sounds for me as a shareholder as well. It's great that it looks like TG Metals is going to, fund their future growth plans. How are we looking for a dividend?
Good question. Look, that'll have to be assessed at the time. Obviously, it's going to depend on future cash flow. So and where we need to put that cash flow into developing the open pits. We obviously haven't done a study yet on how much it's going to cost us to open up the pits. But as I said before, it's probably not going to be a huge amount, because we do have mineralisation at surface in the form of laterites, and a lot of the mineralisation below the laterites actually comes up quite close to the surface as well, like less than 30 metres. So we're not going to have a lot of waste removal ahead of us when we start the pits up, and because of their orientation of the ore as well, we can stage the pits very nicely as well, to just basically stage out in increments going to the east. So I think it's going to be quite a low cost startup, and we're going to avoid having the huge capital cost of having to build our own plant and tailings facilities and that sort of thing by doing toll milling to one of the two options that we have to the northward.
Have you commenced discussions with any of those guys?
Not as yet. So we're planning to do that as soon as possible, but I mean, obviously it'll be.
We need to know what we've got first, obviously.
Yeah, and we'll touch base first, and then but it's a lot better to go in there with a piece of paper that shows that we've got the what tons and grade you've got going forward, because obviously that's what the mills need to know to be able to slot in your ore in with their own production.
Yeah. Fabulous. Okay, well, I think we're done with the questions. Thanks so much, Dave. I have recorded this presentation, so the replay will go out shortly. And that's a wrap.
Okay, thank you, Evie.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Bye.